So we're going to start. All right, so our peak pose today is pigeon. We're going to start lying down. Pigeon is a major hip opener, and so today's class is going to focus on opening the hips where we store a lot of our tension and emotion. And so sometimes people have an emotional release after doing a lot of hip openers. We're going to do external rotation of the hip and internal rotation of the hip. And then we're going to do circling with the hip. We're going to get the synovial fluid into our hip joints. So this is all for hip health. Hips and shoulders are the two joints that often give us a little bit of trouble. So we're going to focus on the hips today. A lot of these poses you can do in bed also. So, and if you want, I have a whole hip flow that you can do in bed. So if you email me that you're interested, I can give you, it's like a 10 posture hip opener that you can do at night or in the morning as you lie in the comfort of your bed. So if you'd like that handout, I'll send it to you if you let me know. All right. I think our attitude for today might be, our mindful attitude might be non-striving, because it's not important that you do all the variations of pigeon pose. It's only important that you choose the one that is safe for you. You don't want your knee to flare up today or your hip to be really angry with you tomorrow morning. So I'm really going to invite you to, once again, go gingerly, go carefully, and let your body drive the plane and not your ego, right? So our mind is like the co-pilot, but the body is the pilot. So we're going to keep checking in with the body and let the body make the decisions based on the intuition of the body. So we're going to practice safely, practice non-striving, non-attachment to the final very possible variation, and really believing that one variation isn't better than the other. It's just a matter of choosing a variation that's going to allow you to practice safely so you can come back next Saturday with a smile on your face. All right, taking a breath. And just settling into your mat now. Having good posture even when we're lying down. So just bringing the shoulder blades in a little closer together. How do you want your arms in cactus and A-frame? Do you want them on your belly? Do you want your knees bent? Do you want your legs in an A-frame? And just taking a few breaths to transition. You're starting a new activity that's very different than your earlier morning activities. Triangle of awareness. Checking in with the physical body today. What bodies showed up for you today? Using a beginner's mind for the body, not judging the body today based on what it did last week. So every time having fresh new eyes, collecting new information about physical sensations. And not judging any of those sensations, just being curious about them. What's percolating up today? And then there's the mind stuff. How's the mind feeling this morning? Sluggish, alert, neutral? Is there a thought bone that you've been chewing on all morning? Maybe something that happened in the past, maybe an anticipation of something in the future. And just acknowledging that thought bone. It too belongs. then see if you can let go of the thought bone, and can you just drop into breath right now? Awareness of the breath. How's your breath doing this morning? Feeling it enter your nostrils, down your throat, into your lungs. Feeling that breath nourish your body, like the ocean tide rolling in and then rolling back out. The soothing rhythm of the breath. And then going from breath awareness into breath control, the three-part breath, which is the breath I encourage you to try to drop into throughout the whole class. That means putting your awareness into breathing into your belly first, then the side ribs expand, and then the heart area expands. And then just a nice, slow exhale. And then begin it again, belly, side ribs, heart. Nice, slow exhale. And just noticing if even taking three-part breaths changes anything in your nervous system. And it might not. Once again, just being curious, no expectations of anything. And starting to add some movement into all of this. So I'm going to ask you to squirm and stretch very intuitively how it feels like being moved and stretched for you right now. When you were dropping into physical sensation, was there some part of your body that was asking for your attention and maybe addressing that now? Do your ankles need to move? Do your wrists need to move? Your arms? What do you feel like doing? Since our focus is hip openers today, let's just start with some hip juicing, bringing the right knee to the chest or the left, it actually doesn't matter, and just making some circles one way, some circles the other way, and just exploring what's happening in that hip joint this morning. Bringing it to your chest a little more, releasing it. So just pumping that knee towards your chest. And if you have knee issues, you can grab the back of your thigh instead of the knee. You can straighten and bend the knee a few times. Check in with that knee joint. So knees and hips are the two joints that I'm going to worry about a little bit when I teach the pigeons. So I want you to check in with those joints right now. And then with the hand holding the knee, let the knee come out to the side. That's external rotation of the hip. And let's do that a few more times. Externally rotating that hip. And then switch hands, and we're just going to do a gentle internal rotation. So the knee goes over and across just a few inches. We're just warming up here. And then stretching out that leg, we're going to try the other side. So grabbing the knee or the back of the thigh, drawing circles with our knee. And is this hip feeling a little different than the other hip? And then you can do some hamstring stretches and juice up that knee joint on the other side. And guiding that knee to the outside for external rotation of the hip. Let's try that a few times and see what's happening there. And then reaching over with the opposite arm. We're just trying internal rotation. We're not going into a spinal twist. It's just a few inches. Ooh, I definitely feel this side is stickier. All right. And then bringing both knees up and doing the Stairmaster. And then pushing one knee into the hand, some resistance here. So I feel my back muscles kicking in. I feel my hip flexor a little working here. And release. And then the other knee pushes into the hand. And the hand pushes back, waking up my core a little bit. Good. And then we're going to bring the hands and feet up. And we're going to do a dead bug. We're just going to shake it all out. Good. And then the arms drop right back, bit of a stretch here. And then as the arms come up, we hug the knees to the chest. And then the arms come up and back, so we're waking up the shoulders a little bit. And then the knees get pulled to the chest. A few more times. I like to exhale as I pull the knees in, and inhale as I stretch up. See if that works for you. And then we're just, do some circles, some infinity signs. It can be erratic. Let's just, juice up those hip joints before we go into wind relieving pose. So last week we were focusing on twists and digestion and massaging the internal organs. So I'm going to revisit wind relieving pose. For this one, I'm going to ask you to start with your right knee at your chest because that's going to access your ascending colon. So a bit of a review here. The ascending colon runs up the right side of your stomach, and by pulling our knee into our chest and getting that thigh to squeeze into our torso, we're waking up the ascending colon. And you can do the back of the thigh. Can look like this if you have knee issues and you can't get deep knee flexion. So some people can get deep knee flexion, in which case the knee looks like this. For other people, they like to keep a 90-degree angle for their knee because it's a very safe angle for your knee. So you decide your variation. All right, if you want to get the abdominal core woken up, you can flex the left foot, bringing it only an inch off the ground. And bring the chest up, so not the head curling up, but shoulders kind of pull back, and you just come up with your chest, your head stays back. If you've got some neck pain, you can always rest your head on the pillow, and just imagine you're leading with the heart, so you're not rounding the shoulders. It actually makes it harder than coming up like this. And then slowly release that leg back down, shake it out, and let the blood from your right leg shoot up into your ascending colon. Give it a bit of a massage. All right, transverse colon runs along the top of our stomach, review from last week. For that one, to access that, we get both knees. So we're either going to hug the backs of our thighs or our knees to the chest. So for this one, this is great for your back. So if you have lower back pain, this usually feels good for people with lower back pain. And what we're going to do is we're going to get some traction in our neck. So you're going to pull it through the crown of your head, and it's just going to pull 0.5 centimeter away from your body. And you should feel a pleasant pulling on the back of your neck. So that's called traction. And it tucks your chin in just a little bit, like 1 centimeter. And then I'm going to try to imagine uncurling my tailbone. And so if your vertebrae were a string of pearls, we're just trying to get every vertebrae strung along the floor. It's just a visualization. There's a natural curve in your neck and your lower spine that will prevent that, but you just want to create space between the vertebrae here. And then I like to kind of move in poses always, and so one thing I discovered is just rocking side to side feels good for me. See if it feels good for you. And that's a good way to check in with my lower back muscles. Is one side feeling tighter than the other? And then if I want to throw in a bit of an abdominal core wake up, we can kind of bring the chest up and have the knees in a little closer to the chest. So once again, resisting the urge to round through the neck. So keeping the cervical neck neutral. And coming back down. And since we're here, let's go into laughing baby. And so pretend you're sitting on a chair upside down. You can grab your calves, you can grab your ankles, you can grab the sides of the feet. And then I like to move, so I'm going to rock side to side like a baby in a crib. And once again, you can see that, my thighs are pressing on my internal organs here, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to massage those internal organs. And then you can play here also. So this is laughing baby. You can go into supine cobbler. So cobbler is a pose I'm going to do later on. And then the other variation, now this one doesn't work for everyone. You cross one knee over the other. And you slide your hands down to your shins or your ankles or the outside of your feet, whatever is accessible. And then you pull your feet or your shins or your ankles towards your shoulders. And then I'm getting a deep stretch to my buttock here. Now once again, for some people, they find it difficult to cross one knee over the other, in which case you can skip this and do laughing baby or cobbler. So I'm noticing a really deep stretch to my buttock. And then I'm going to try the other side and I'm going to compare. So does your knee cross as easily on the other side as the first investigation? And is it more accessible to grab the tops of your calves or the bottom of your calves, or your ankles or your feet? What's accessible for you today? And then gently pulling whatever you've grabbed up towards your shoulders, and then noticing what you feel and where you feel it. And then dropping into your 3-part breath. And breathing to the area where you most have sensation right now. And then on the next exhale, floating out of the pose. And shaking out your legs a little bit. All right, we still have the descending pull-in to work on the left side of our stomach. So for the descending pull-in, we need to bring our left knee up. Once again, back of the thigh or the knee, pulling it towards the chest. And just noticing, do you have as much flexion in the hip on this side as the other side? So one side you might be easily able to pull your knee to your chest, the other side might be stickier. And you can always move around. Like I just had this sudden urge to move my ankle, so I'm just going with that. And then if you want to wake up your core a little bit, you flex the extended leg, bring the heel an inch off the ground. What does that do to your lower back? So you want that lower back to be neutral. So the heel on the floor, the heel off the floor, the back stays neutral, right? We don't start to arch it, we don't start to pull it into the floor, we keep the spine in neutral. If you're able to keep it into neutral, great. If not, if your back started to arch a little too much, the other cure is to just bring the chest up a little bit, or the shoulders off the ground a little bit. So really working at keeping a neutral spine. Slipping into your 3-part breath. Once again, do you feel like moving those feet around, those ankles? Do you feel like being still here? Do you feel like coming out of the abdominal part and just working on holding the knee to the chest? And then slowly releasing. I'm going to give my knee one last little hug. And then releasing and shaking it out. Check in with your hips. How are they feeling? We've already done a few warm-ups. We're going to do a few more. So Pigeon Pose is not accessible to everyone because they've had knee surgery, maybe a torn meniscus, all sorts of reasons, and or hip surgery or osteoarthritis in the hips, etc. So I want to give you a very safe variation for our peak pose today, and it is figure 4. All right, so it's called supine. Supine means to be lying down. Supine figure 4. So I'm going to ask you to bend your knees. I'm going to ask you to cross one ankle over the knee, and you've made the figure 4. Okay? Now, I can already feel a little bit of stretch in this buttock, and if I push that knee away energetically with my mind, I feel more of a stretch. So I'm going into, so here's the knee up high, here's the knee opening up, and I'm getting an external rotation to the hip, which we need for pigeon pose, all right? That's why it's called lying down pigeon, or figure 4 pigeon is the nickname for this. Now, you can stop here, there might be enough sensation here for you. Or you can bring that foot off the ground, and notice if you slowly bring it up, it changes the quality of the sensation, you know? And is that in a good way, or is that in a bad way? If it's in a bad way, you bring your foot back down. Now, for some of you who are quite open in the hips and really craving more sensation, the knee that is closer to my chest, right, which is this bent knee here, that hand is going to go through the donut hole, and I'm going to interlock my fingers around the thigh that is further away from me. All right, so careful, because some people grab the thigh that's closer to them. You're going to interlock your fingers around the thigh that's further away. Now, what you're going to notice is, if you want more sensation, you pull that thigh in closer to your torso, and I'm getting more sensation. If I still want more sensation, my elbow is going to push the other thigh away. So this elbow is pushing that thigh away, whereas the hands are pulling the other thigh closer. So this is giving me maximum amount of sensation. And it should be healthy sensation. Now that I'm in the pose, I'm going to drop into my 3-part breath. And I'm going to energetically send my breath to wherever I am feeling the most sensation. What you never want to feel is joint pain. So if anything in your knee joints, particularly here, is speaking to you, or your hip joints, you're going to do 10% less until that sharp pain or maybe throbbing goes away. So from here, I'm going to do a twist. We're going to drop that foot to the floor. We're going to bring our arms out to the side. All right, so you see the knee that's closer to you? We're going to go in that direction. That knee is going to drop open to the side, and then my ankle is going to be resting on top of the other knee. Check in with your lower spine. This is too intense for some people, in which case you can take the foot off the knee. That weight of the ankle on the knee is sending you into a deeper spinal twist, and it might be too much. So this is the figure 4 spinal twist. Take a 3-part breath here. And then on the inhale, gently come up and switch sides. So cross the other ankle over the knee. So we're going to go into the figure 4 pigeons. So once again, you can stay here, you can stay here, you can grab that thigh that's further away and pull it closer to your body. You can use the elbow as a lever to push the other thigh further away. So get into your version of this pose and drop into 3-part breath. All right, and then on the exhale, coming out of the pose, letting that foot float to the ground, and the knee that's high up, that's the direction we're going to open up to. So that high knee. For me, it's my left knee that's high, so I'm going to drop it to the left side. Arms are in T or W or cactus signs. And once again, is this side different than the other? Check in with your lower back. That's what I'm kind of worried about a little bit here. If you're getting a pinching or a sharp pain or anything that doesn't feel right, just take that knee, that ankle off the knee. Does that help? So for spinal twist, less is more. And then breathing into whatever physical sensation you're experiencing right now and making sure it's not unpleasant. And then inhaling the knees up. So how are your hips feeling? Can you do one more? I'm gonna just teach you one more hip opener that we can do lying on our back, but you might want to cut out at this point. Your hips might be like, that's enough for now, because there's still the pigeon to contend with coming up. So you can do any pose you want right now to restore yourself. If you want to join me, actually we can all probably do bridge. So you don't have to do the hip opener version, but we can all probably do bridge. So bridge is a really good pose to open up the chest muscles, stretch the stomach muscles, and to get some back extension happening. So we're gonna bring the palms up, bring the shoulder blades in closer together, reach out through the crown of the head a little bit, all right? So if you can bring up all your toes and get space between each toe and bring down each toe one by one, good. And then pressing the ball joints of the feet and the heel evenly, squeezing the buttocks and inhaling those hips up as the hands, backs of the hands push into the floor. So this is our classic bridge pose. Let's exhale out of it. I like to go in and out 3 times before I go in for the hold. And inhaling up, exhaling back down. So remember, I like to use the glutes and strengthen them whenever I can. So I squeeze those glutes to get my hips up, and it also protects my back when I squeeze the glutes. And I'm going to check in with my feet. I feel like one of my feet is Charlie Chaplin'd out. So you want those feet parallel to each other. So I'm going to take a second and realign my feet here. All right, now you can choose to just continue going in and out of the pose if that feels pleasant, or you can choose to hold the pose and grab your block. You might want to use a block here. I'll show you an option with a block. All right, so I'm going to inhale the hips up, and I'm using my glutes to squeeze here. And so if your knees tend to come apart, you can put the block between your knees and squeeze the block to activate the adductor muscles, those inner thigh muscles. The other option is if you're feeling like a little tired today, a restorative is to I put the medium edge under my sacrum, not my bum, that's too low, not my mid-back, that's too high, but just in between that is my sacrum. It's like a shelf, and it feels really nice when you put your block, and then you can kind of relax, and if you do this, you're not working the thighs or the buttocks, but you're just kind of relaxing into a back extension. So there's options here. Now the hip opener part is when you bring one ankle up and cross it over the other ankle. So you can do that with the block not under your sacrum, a lot more work here. If it's too much work, you can put the block under your sacrum, and if you don't need any more external rotation of the hip for now, then just do regular bridge. So ask your pilot, your body, the driver of this plane, what it needs to do to feel safe and healthy and happy. So I've got my sacrum on the block, and what I'm focusing now is just opening up that hip. So my glutes aren't doing any work, I'm giving them a break, and I'm just working on that external rotation. If I take that block away, I'm still working on the external rotation of the hip, but I'm asking my glutes to do a lot more work and my back to do a lot more work. So what's your energy level today? And then, I like to do a few butterfly flaps of the wing here, and I'm just like flapping that knee a little bit. Does that feel good to you or not? It's called ballistic stretching. Sometimes gets the muscle to relax.
and release, and I'm going to try the other side and do a comparison. Do I have as much external rotation on the other side? No, I don't. And that's okay. And flap a little bit. You can always lift up and off the block and come back down a few times. Bring the shoulder blades in a little closer together. I realize mine's splayed apart a bit. And I like to bring the shoulder blades in close together to protect the C7. That's your 7th cervical vertebrae, which should not be touching the floor. And then slowly, slowly coming out of the pose. All right, that was a lot of external rotation, so I want to balance that with some internal rotation of the hip. I'm going to bring my feet to the outside edge of the mat. And I'm just going to let one knee at a time dive towards the center until I feel a healthy amount of sensation. And I'm getting a quad stretch here by kind of pulling that knee towards the bottom of my mat. And then I'm going to inhale that back up. And then the other knee is going to come down towards the center of the mat. That knee is going to pull towards the bottom of the mat for the quad stretch. And then release and come back up. So just do that a few more times. Notice what's happening in your pelvis, maybe your SI joint. What is too much sensation? What is too little sensation? And finding something in between. And we are actually, let's do one more thing for the hamstrings. So grabbing the strap, putting the strap around, or scarf, if you have a scarf, putting the strap around your ball joint, and let's just point and flex that foot a few times, waking up the hamstring. And, just noticing what's a good angle. Is this a good angle for you? Is 90 degrees a good angle? Is less than 90 degrees? Or does the knee start to buckle? So just kind of finding your hamstring stretch so that you can gauge the improvement week over week, which will happen with your hamstrings. So to keep your legs straight, where are you exactly? And then we're going to compare it to the other side too, which is always fun to do. All right, so I'm at a 90 degree. And then floating that leg open, and we're getting a little bit of external rotation of the hip. I'm getting a nice stretch to the inside of my thigh. And then I'm wanting a little bit of support under my knee with my block. And then I'm just going to take a few breaths. You don't have to use the block. I just find it a little more relaxing. And do you need it on the high edge, the medium edge, the low edge? And is it under your knee? Is it under your thigh? What feels good? And then inhaling that leg up, switching hands and bring that leg over and across. I can't go very far because I'm hitting the wall, but you can probably go further. And I'm getting a very different sensation. This is, I'm feeling it along the side of my leg. I'm feeling it in my tendon, my hamstring tendon where it attaches to the knee area. So I'm feeling something here. Where are you feeling it? And then, you can always play, you can bend and flex a few times. I always think when the body feels like moving around in a little pose, a little bit of a pose, honor that, and just kind of explore the nuances of the movement. Keep gathering information. And then on the inhale, bringing it up, putting both feet in, and just kind of, where are you with both legs? Are you here? Are you here? Are you here? Are you at 90 degree? Taking a snapshot again. So if the legs are straight, what kind of angle are you making? This is more than 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees. This would be less than 90 degrees. Less than 90 degrees is not accessible for most people, and you don't want to into your hamstring. So choose what feels like a nice, healthy stretch for you. And then the leg is going to come out, float down, and we're going to focus on the other hamstring and floating that leg out to the side. Deciding whether you want to put a block under your thigh or knee to rest the leg, or do you like that bit of tension where you have to hold the leg off the ground? Dropping into 3-part breath. And then inhaling that leg up, switching hands, dropping that leg over and across, looking in the opposite direction. So this is a gentle spinal twist. I'm getting a stretch to the outside of the leg. You're getting a stretch to the IT band. It's the longest tendon in your body. It runs along the left side. Well, for me, I've got my left leg out, so it's the outside of my left leg. It might be your right leg. And breathing into wherever you feel that sensation. And then inhaling that leg safely back up, taking the strap away and getting up into a cross-legged seated. And you can do spinal rocks like I am, or you can just roll onto your side and somehow get yourself up. Okay, so let's just do something with the shoulders here. We're not focusing on the shoulders today, but I don't want to completely ignore them. So just doing a bit of a roll. How are they feeling today? I'm going to do some shoulder drops where I inhale up and like let it all go. Just do some circles one way. I think next week I'm going to do a posture clinic where we will be working more on the shoulders. Rolling the other way. Stretching the arms out and kind of opening and closing the door jam. So the arms are extended, shoulders, shoulder blades are pulled in towards each other, arms are in their sockets, and we're just kind of opening and closing the door jam here. And from here, we're going to go into eagle arms. So one arm is going to swoop under the other. You can either hug the shoulders, bring the backs of the hands, or some people are able to bring the palms together. The humerus bone pulls into its socket, that's the arm bone, and the elbows squeeze together and pull up a little bit. Nice straight posture. And remember, there's other variations, so this is not always comfortable for people. Some people, just hugging the shoulders and squeezing into the elbows feels better. And then you can squirm around a little bit in it, play with it. What's happening in the shoulders this morning, in the back. And one last squeeze, and then release, and then chicken wing arms. So the thumbs come to the shoulders. And you are a swimming chicken. And the other way. And now we're going to eagle arm the other side, if you can remember. I hope I get it right. Yeah, I think it's this side. So whatever variation, I'll do variation 1 for the other side, just to shake it up. And so remember the arm bones pull into their sockets, the elbows squeeze into each other, you sit up nice and tall and proud, and the elbows can maybe come up another inch. And so once you get aligned, then you can start getting into the movement. Maybe closing your eyes, just letting your body decide what direction, what kind of movement. Not forgetting about the breath in all of this. Nice, full 3-part breaths always.
then coming up for the final squeeze where we strengthen the joints, so pulling the arms into their sockets, the elbows into each other. We're doing the wrists into each other. 3, 2, 1, and release. All right. And so this time, let's do the front stroke. So one arm, elbow comes forward, and the other, just to shake it up a little bit. And backstroke. Okay, good. So there's the shoulders. So a major hip opener in yoga is Cobbler Pose. If you know you're tight in the hips, be kind to yourself. Sit on a block or sit on a pillow. If you know you have quite open hips, you can just do it without a pillow. And so cobbler, if you're looser in the hips, you can maybe get those heels right to the groin, but not if you round the back. So we have to keep the integrity of an elongated spine. And then a few butterfly wings to start us off. And then another way to get those abductors to loosen is to do the opposite, to get them to contract. How do we get them to contract? We push the elbows into the thighs and the thighs into the elbows, and now the adductors are contracting because they're working against the arms. There's a little bit of a tug of war happening here. We're just going to hold that for one more 3-part breath. And then release, do a few more butterflies, and then just see if that loosened up the hips. Now, if you're a little tight, if your hips are really high up, then you can bring the arms behind because that keeps my back elongated, all right? Or do you like holding your ankles? If you're very open in the hips, you can interlock your fingers around your feet as long as you keep that spine elongated and not rounded. So if you can keep it elongated, you can start to go into a forward bend. It's a lot of external rotation for the hip. Ask your hips if it's too much. Do you need to come out of it? So it's the Goldilocks test, right? Is this too much? Is this too little? Is this just right? And then release, shake it out. All right, I'm going to give you an option for the next one. So I was talking to one of the students and they were talking about getting a sharp groin pain, and it might be the wide-legged forward bend. I don't know. This is not for everyone. It's quite intense, and I'm coming forward here. I'm feeling a lot of sensation. So if you have like groin stuff happening, this might be too much, okay? So my other option is you can do rock the baby, where we've done this before. You just kind of rock the baby. Sometimes you can rock the baby in your elbow like this. So what do you feel like doing? Do you feel like doing a wide-legged forward bend today? Do you feel like doing rock the baby today? So decide, or you can do a bit of both. Now also the wide-legged forward bend is, if it's too much, the compromise is can opener, where it's one knee is bent and the other leg is straight, and trying it that way, right? So play around. Let's have like a minute of freestyling here. Three more breaths. So what do you want to do with your next 3 breaths? Just follow the intuition of your body. And then we're going to go into tabletop. And we're going to go into praying frog. So we're going to curl our toes under. You know what? Just in case, can you get your block ready right beside like the backs of your feet almost? You might want to use it, you might not. Let's just play and see. Okay, so we're going to curl our toes under. We're going to walk back. We're going to come onto our feet. Now, if you have knee issues, you're going to do a half squat like this, where your elbows are resting on your knees. If you can get full flexion of the knee, some people, they can't get their heels on the ground, and it doesn't matter if you do, but they like to put the block underneath their heels to get into praying frog. So, with the block, without the block, some people start to round too much, and you know, I prefer an elongated spine, as you know. So it might look like this. It might look like this. Now, feel good about this one because I'm working my quads way harder here. For this, I'm getting more knee flexion, opening up my inner thighs, but I'm not getting any quad workout. So that's the other thing. Like, do you want the quad workout? Do you want to kind of do a higher version of this, kind of like squatting frog instead of praying frog? So it's not like one variation is better than the other. It's just they're different, and you're getting different benefits from different variations. All right, so this is, you can see, a hip opener again. And from here, we're going to go, this is the challenge, slowly up into standing. I'm really asking those quads to kick in. Oh. And coming up. All right, so shaking out those legs, swaying side to side. If you want to tap on your kidneys. So here are your kidneys, and you just lightly tap them to wake them up. Good. Wake up the thyroid, Tarzan. All right, so some choice points here. We've been working on squats, and so you can choose to put a block between your thighs. And for squats, you can place your hands on your thighs, come down. You can use the hands on the knees as support. And this might be your squat today. Bring the knees back so you can still see your big toes. Squeeze the block to engage the adductors. You might want to bring your arms out here. You might want your arms at a 45-degree angle. Make sure you don't collapse into your lower back. So I'm pulling my belly button into my spine, engaging my core here. And then how low do you want to go? At what point do your knees tell you to stop? You can pulse in and out of it. If you're pulsing in and out of it, this is great for your glutes. So you squeeze the glutes to get you up and then release back down. So I like to do a few in and outs, and then I like to hold. All right, you keep doing that. I'm going to show you a second variation. Is a balance pose. It's called figure four. So we did the figure four pigeon, and it's the same idea. We did it lying down. Your hands come to your heart, and you just bend the knee. My knee is working really hard here. So ask yourself, do you have a lot of strength in that knee joint? Do you want to work on developing? This pose is not for everyone. So try everything and then decide what your body feels like doing today. And then there's always the wall to help out. Do the other side. All right, and then we're going to inhale back up and shake out the legs. It is time for a peak pose, but I have to get you back onto the ground. So I think I'm going to get you down the way I got you in, which is If you can bring your feet to the outside edge of the mat, the feet pointing out at a 45-degree angle like Charlie Chaplin. We're going to bring the hands to the heart. We're going to come down into a squat, maybe into praying frog, bringing the hands behind us, and coming onto our buttocks. Or however you can gracefully get yourself down to the ground. All right. I am feeling a lot of sensation in my hips right now because we are really opening up those hips. So why don't we just take a minute to be with that. You can sit cross-legged, you can have your legs out in front of you. Let's just take a breath here and notice the sensation that we have in our hips, or maybe it's somewhere else that's speaking to us right now. So this is whatever sensation you're feeling. Is it a little too much? Is it not enough? Are your hips craving more? Are they saying, I'm close to my limit today? And that's going to guide your decision about which pigeon variation you're going to choose. All right, the first variation, so definitely have your block ready, or your towel, or your pillow. Okay. So I'm going to start with my right knee, so I'm going to have the pillow on the right side. And then my left leg is going to go behind. And I'm going to go into what's called a pinwheel pigeon. So you see my legs are kind of making a pinwheel. All right? And so this is one variation. How's that working? I'm getting quite a bit of sensation here, but I'm still all right. My knees are very happy here, so if you have knee issues, this is good. All right. And then I'm going to lean forward a little bit. How does that feel? Do you want to get your elbows onto a block or a pillow? How does that feel? Do you maybe want to put, I don't know, 2 pillows or a block and, lie down like this? Is that too much? I'm definitely getting a lot more sensation in one of my hips. All right, this might be your bus stop, right? Or you might feel like, no, I'm ready to try another variation of pigeon. All right, so for this one, I'm going to get my pillow ready here, or your blanket, and I'm going to place my knee and my hip on that blanket. So that's a lot of, so this is nice cushioning. It feels nice, right? And then I'm going to kind of come forward here, and I'm going to see if I can extend that leg back and behind. So I'm making a pigeon tail. So this is the tail of the pigeon. Check in with your spine. I'm feeling a little bit of sensation here, but it's not unhealthy, but I am feeling it. I'm just noticing it. All right. I'm going to puff up pigeon to get more sensation back. Now I feel more. Do you need to feel more sensation in that lumbar spine? Is that a hot spot for you? Do you need to feel less sensation? Do you want to come into my favorite pose, sleepy pigeon? Make one fist, put one fist on top of the other fist, put your forehead on your double fist. Or you can use the block for that. Now, what's happening with the knee? Is it okay? This is what I'm worried about, is that knee. Do you need to make less than a 45-degree angle? If you're super open in the hip, you might be able to do a 90-degree angle. So play with that shin. Like, what would be the perfect angle of that shin that would make your hips happy, that would make your knee happy? Keep dropping into the sensation in the knee. Is it too much? The knee joint is my primary concern here. So once you get super nice and comfortable, you're going to drop into your 3-part breath. You're going to notice physical sensations. You're going to make sure they're healthy physical sensations, a healthy challenge to your joints. If you have sciatica, you would be checking in with that. Is it too much? This pose is good for sciatica if you go slow over the months. If you have acute sciatica, it might be triggering it, so just keep dropping into sensation, being safe, not attached to any one version of this pose. And then if none of these have worked so far for you, you're going to go back to the reclining figure four pigeon. This one is super safe for most people. So that's your ultimate variation, right? Because none of these, or they might have worked for a minute or two and then they don't work. So the second your variation stops working, go into the supine figure four pigeon. Now, if you want to try this without any props under your buttock, you can take that pillow away. I don't know if you're feeling your knees in and your hips are like, come on, this is nothing for me. Okay, you can try it with no props. I'm getting a deep psoas stretch. When I take away the props, the extended leg is getting a really intense psoas stretch. How do we get out of this? Okay, you're going to inhale up. You're going to take away your props, curl the toes under the extended leg, and then I like to come into downward dog. Or you can come into downward puppy, which looks like this. So do you feel like I'm doing a downward puppy right now, or do you feel like doing a downward dog? And then we're going to bring the other knee forward, and we're going to start off in the pinwheel. So this was our variation one, because, you know, the truth is this side might be a whole different ballgame. So think of it as two different children. They're very different. So start with the pinwheel, play with it, move around in it, squirm around. You know, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. Just putting a block under that hip help. Ooh, definitely. Way less pressure on my knee. So this is where a block can be really useful. And you decide, is this your bus stop? Is Pinwheel Pigeon your bus stop for this side? Do you want to try the bolster on this side? Or the pillow, so the knee and the hip are being supported. And you can keep this knee bent, by the way, or you can start to wiggle it out, extend it, and make a tail. Careful, you don't tuck the toes under, by the way, so you want the tops of the feet flat on the floor. It's way more comfortable. And do you want to puff up? Be a proud pigeon? Do you want to be a sleepy pigeon? Do you need to tuck that heel closer to your pelvis, or do you need to kick that heel further up the mat? How does that change things? So play around with the angle of that shin. And finally, if you want to try it without props, you roll that hip right off the bolster or pillow. And that buttock is no longer resting on anything. It's not resting on the floor, it's not resting on the pillow, but I'm asking my knee to take a lot of sensation right now because I'm putting weight into that flex knee, and so obviously it's not for everyone's knee. So choose your version that you want to play with. Experiment, wiggle around, drop into sensation. What feels good? So Nadine, you're in full pigeon, that's great. I'm just going to give you a next variation because I can see you. Since you're doing the full variation, I'm going to ask you to square the hips for a little more sensation. So you're going to pull, so the knee that's bent, that hip pulls back an inch, and the leg that's extended, that hip pulls forward an inch. It's called squaring the hips. And it's just going to give you a little more sensation. You might want it, you might not. So if you're in a full pigeon, the hip that's more forward pulls back, and the hip that's further back pulls up a little bit. So it's called squaring the hips. It just intensifies it a little bit. And it might be not your thing. We're going to take 3 more breaths here. And you're always welcome to break out of the pose early and do a variation, right? Alright, so I'm going to show you a way to get out of this pose that's a little tricky but a little cool. So I'm going to come up with straight arms. I'm going to drop onto the buttock of the knee that's bent. And then I'm going to swing that leg around either to the outside of the, to one side of the knee or the other side of the knee. And I'm into a spinal twist. However, you might need to straighten that knee that's out. Right? Because we did spinal twist last week. So were you doing a straight leg spinal twist or were you doing a bent knee spinal twist? So that's your choice. So remember with spinal twist, it's the opposite elbow to the knee. So it's not the same elbow to the same knee, it's the opposite elbow. Now you can hug, are you nice and extended? Or you can bring over and across to a cactus arm if you want more spinal extension. So remember, if you have osteopenia, osteoarthritis, you want to do a gentler version of the spinal twist. It's still okay to do a spinal twist, but you want to do a gentle version of it. And then you're going to switch sides. We're not going to stay in it too long today. This is a review of last week's class. So this is the bent knee, where both bent knees are hugged into the body, or do you prefer the one leg straight, one knee bent? Remember, opposite elbow hugs the opposite knee. You extend through the spine. You never want to curl the spine in a spinal twist. All right, we're all looking good here. One more breath. And then on the exhale, slowly untwist yourself. All right, since I made you all bring pillows, why don't you try doing your Shavasana with a pillow under your knees, because it feels really nice on your back when you put pillow under your knee. And then you're going to slowly settle back. And if your back is really tender today, do the bent knees and collapse them in towards each other. So this is constructive pose, or where you make a tent with your knees. Or do you just want to have your backs of your knees resting on a pillow? Oh, we're done. All right, so how do you want your arms? Your shoulder blades are going to wiggle in a little closer together. Actually, you know what? I'm going to ask you to interlock your fingers under your head. Make a cradle with your hands. I'm going to do neck traction with you today. All right, so we're going to, with the strength of the hands, lift the head 1 inch off the floor. So your head is like in the hammock of your hands. All right, and then slowly separate your fingers, stretch out the back of your neck. So you're kind of pulling your head maybe a few millimeters longer. And then let the head rest on the floor and slide those fingers away. And that was a little bit too much traction, so I'm going to just kind of bring that chin up a little bit. But it's a way to get traction in the back of your neck to create space between the vertebrae. But you don't want your chin tucked too much to your chest. So you want the chin tucked just like 0.5 centimeter. All right. And where do you want your hands? What would make this pose really comfortable and relaxing for you? Because it is the most important pose of the yoga class, Shavasana. Letting go of all effort, even letting go of breath control. So no more 3-part breath. Just slip into what is the natural rhythm of your breath.
Do a little bit of a body scan. Is there something in your body that's holding? Is there anything in your body that you could coax to release? I personally noticed that my shoulders are the last to relax on my body. Like they need a lot of concerted talking down to release. Just feeling yourself melt into the mat. Your thoughts melt away. Your muscles melt away. You're going to choose your anchor for your wandering mind so that when you notice your mind wanders, which happens about every 3 breaths, you have something to anchor back to. So what is your anchor today? Breath or sound or physical sensations or a favorite saying, a favorite word. Take 5 more breaths here. So if your little puppy mind wandered off, no problem, but invite that puppy back to your anchor. Really enjoying the next few breaths. Feeling the gentle inhales and exhales nourish every cell of your body. Enjoying the reliable rhythm of your breath. And then very gently and lovingly getting yourself over to your right side, or if you prefer your left side, that's fine too. And you can grab your pillow or you can use your arm as your pillow, just getting into a very safe fetal position. And seeing if you can drop into that inner silence, that inner stillness. Is it available for you today?
Maybe a soft smile on your face to let yourself know that you're safe right now. Just relax the muscles in your face. And smile therapy. And then squirming in your body a little more, just kind of exploring again, imagining you're waking up to a new day, a new moment. And then perhaps stretching up that upper arm, and then using that upper hand, the upper arm to push into the floor, and gently getting yourself up into a seated pose to seal the class. And just comparing how you feel now to the beginning of the class. How are you feeling emotionally? Mentally? Physically? And then inhaling the hands up to the sky. Float your arms down. See yourself in the purity of the present moment.